So, merry festivities, if that is your thing at this time of year. I just thought I'd do a little bit of an intro to this particular sort of unboxing, because this is a classic example of coming across an item through a slightly sort of random means. Because if you've been watching the channel for a while now, you'll know that I've been trying to pick up a Battlehawk for some time. You'll also know that boxed ones are up on eBay for very, very silly prices, possibly because some Battlehawks are relatively rare in their boxed state. So, although I've been looking at them when they've come up, I've not still yet to really see one that was boxed on eBay at a price that I could justify. I've bid on a couple, but they've always gone beyond what I was prepared to pay for it, basically. So, I was being fairly sensible about it. You'll have seen that I've picked up a couple of examples loose, just to show you what they actually looked like, what sort of size they were. But they've always been slightly incomplete because they've never had the small Terrahawk on the top of the Battlehawk. That's always been missing. But now I can show you the full set and a box. And the way in which I've come about this is quite interesting, because it wasn't a method that I tried before, and it wasn't a method I was trying to try this time. So I'll explain. Basically, I was just looking at my Facebook feed, which includes several groups that are, involved with Jerry Anderson and the like, and one of those was a Terrahawks page. And it must have been just maybe the second item in my Facebook feed where a gentleman had said on this group, by the way, if anyone's looking for one, there's a Battlehawk in a box up on this other group. So I thought, oh, that's an unusually reasonable price for one. I wonder if that's still available. And it took me a while to hunt this group down. I went back to the original group and said, can someone just help me, because I don't seem to be able to find this group. And eventually I did. Got in touch with the gentleman concerned. It was still available. I said, could I have it, please? Thank you, please. And he said, yes, you can. And within a few minutes of getting in contact with him, we'd arranged payment, and he'd gone to the post office and was sort of sent me a photo of proof of purchase. So I haven't actually looked at this yet. So I'm really hoping it's in decent condition and has survived its travels. But I just thought, I've heard Gareth say before that, potentially Facebook groups, maybe it might actually have been Ed, actually more to do with Transformers, for example, that often collectors on those groups who have ended up with spares and who are sort of generally don't like the kind of, the sort of potential scalping that goes on eBay, they will actually sell direct through Facebook groups to fellow collectors who are on those groups, because they feel that's a better way to get people sort of into collecting the sort of stuff that they're interested in. And clearly this was one of those times when what Ed often says came to pass, in the sense that if you're supposed to have something, you will eventually end up with it, because lo and behold, for a not ridiculous price, because I didn't have to bid for it, which is a major bonus, I have ended up with a boxed Battlehawk. So nice to finally get one. Now this is the one that came with a badge, which I'm trying to remember now which way round it is, that the one with a badge is more common, but there is another edition of the Battlehawk that came out without a badge as well. So there may be two variants. In fact, I know there are two variants, because there is another one on eBay at the moment that does not have the badge. And you can tell from the packaging there's supposed to be an indentation where the badge would sit. So this, I suspect, is the more common of the two. But as I say, I've not yet had one in hand to actually have a proper look at. So I've got this, and I've also got a Terrahawk in a box now to have a look at, which I haven't had before. So I think I'm now at the point where I've got all the large models that they actually put out, and a fair proportion of the smaller ones, and I think all my figures. So I'm going to do a sort of a general kind of catch up on my Terrahawks collection in a little while as well. So stick around for that. It'll be a few weeks probably, but it will be coming out eventually. And for now, let's get into the Battlehawk proper. So here we are. This is as it arrived to me. So this is my first time looking at it immediately with your good cells. Just spare bubble wrap there. And I'll just have a little slice and dice at it. It's well wrapped. I think this gentleman was selling a few bits and bobs of Gerry Anderson items, but he was obviously, as I say, doing it on Facebook. And I've probably looked at it or looked for it on Facebook Marketplace before now, but obviously the actual dedicated groups are a much more specific way of looking for these things. It just never occurred to me to really sort of go hunting for this sort of thing on there, because I didn't know how. It just didn't occur to me. It's unusual for me to be hunting something quite so hard that, you know, I go through every single avenue. I sometimes even look on Etsy, because although I've had negative experiences with Etsy and collectibles in the sense of people who are saying they're selling things have just sort of vanished, and I've ended up not getting it. But you know, on a rare occasion, things do turn up there. And whilst I browse the Facebook Marketplace on occasion, again, the sort of the pricing and the collection arrangements and everything else, I've always been a little bit wary of. You know, but I suppose it's no different than how I used to sell things, you know, years and years ago by using the free ads in the local newspaper. It's exactly the same principle, but in this day and age, maybe we're just more cautious about selling things without having any sort of feedback ratings and so on. You know, it's just when you're used to selling on eBay, I suppose you're used to having that sort of degree of visibility and confidence about who the seller is, and you know whether or not they're likely to be trustworthy. So let's find out what this actually looks like in the box. Yes, now the gentleman did say he'd very sensibly packaged, so it has been out of the box, but I knew that already. So he's very sensibly put some more bubble wrap inside the box, because obviously things could shift. But here we have a Battlehawk. It's also been sort of very pre-bent, but you can see the sheer size of this. I do actually have my Terrahawk handy. So let's just have a quick comparison of box size, because you can see that they weren't helping themselves to help themselves in a sense in terms of this as a product line, because the boxes are not a uniform size at all. So we'll come back to this one on another video. I won't look at it in detail now, but that's actually still it's still got its original ties in, I believe. So I'm unlikely to unbox that, but it's nice to get it in a box. So let's actually let's get this Battlehawk out and have a look at her. But you can already see, peeking out here at the front right, the little Terrahawk that sits on top of the Battlehawk, or should do if it's complete, of course. Let's have a look at the box first. So this is the sort of the largest example you'll probably get of the rear artwork for these boxes, because the Battlehawk is the biggest box. So there you've got the Zeroid, the Terrahawk, Hawkwing, Battlehawk, Terrahawk, and Spacehawk, which we never actually got. And you'll also note, as I've noted in other videos before now on this, that there are no enemy ships, which is crazy, because even the most common fightcraft that the Zelda's forces use, the Zeef, doesn't get a look in. The only enemy we get is a figure of Zelda, and that is it. There's no cubes, there's no nothing. It's really strange. So we just get a bit of an action shot on the side there. And this then gives you in the back here gives you the sort of the information about what's what and who's who. So battle tank compartment doors opens, battle tank recovery hook, opening cargo door rear, and ramp lowers. Now, as you'll have noticed from the other examples I've had, invariably one or two of these things are broken on any given example of the Battlehawk. So it's rare to find an example which doesn't have lots of random stickers stuck to it, which is clean and, you know, is fully functioning. So I'm really hoping that the back door on this one actually works, because that's another thing that I have to say, I was on the verge of trying to take my loose ones apart, or at least one of them apart, to see if I could fix the other one with it. Now, obviously I don't need to do that anymore, because I'll have this one, which hopefully should be as it should be. So I won't need to do that. But I was going to try and do a sort of a very, very poor imitation of toy polloi and try and actually fix up a full Battlehawk from the component ones that I have. Now, maybe someone would like that as a project, I don't know, but you know, that's one I might have to think about. Now, I don't believe that I have a sticker sheet in here, if I remember rightly. I don't think that I will have. But what I should have is pretty much everything else. Now, ironically, I've also picked this up separately from eBay in the past. That's just the specification and the instructions for the Battlehawk, which I've probably shown you before, so I won't bother going through that again. But again, it's the sort of thing I really love with the sort of the Bandai stuff. It's just that little bit of extra attention to detail. And actually, this I might not have had before. This looks like a second sheet to it, which I haven't. I'm not sure I've actually had before. So that's interesting. So it just gives the details on the forward hatch. So forward hatch opens upwards and loading ramp can be pulled out. Push button to the right to open rear cargo door and lower ramp. Slide Terrahawk onto the launch. And this I actually want to know. Slide Terrahawk onto the launch pad on the top of the Battlehawk and push button there to catapult off. Right, okay. Push button to open tank bay to release battle tank. Withdraw recovery hook for battle tank. When returning battle tank to chassis, close the front single door first, yeah. Then insert battle tank into the tank bay. Pushing the tank in will close the side doors. Yes, it will. Yeah, definitely. Okay, really interesting. I don't think I've had both those sheets. I probably thought that was as much information as you got, but actually there were two sheets. So there you go, learned something new today. Always a good thing. Now then, let's get into this. I didn't actually... One thing I should probably find as well is a date. I think that is 1983. So the wording here, I think from I, is 1983, yeah. So I'm assuming that the actual production year was that as well. But Terrahawks did run for quite a long time, which may explain why we ended up with a couple of Battlehawk iterations. Yeah, so the box also says 83. And it's got that picture of the Battlehawk sort of launching it up from inside. The box is... I'm just having a quick look at the box sort of separately. There's a little bit of a slit on the top of it, which doesn't really surprise me given the sheer size of the sort of polythene that they've covered it with. You know, how any of these have survived is remarkable to me, because they're so breaky as boxes go. And this thin... I mean, it's nice because they showed it, you know, so you can see all of this normally. I'm just having to think about how best to get into it now. I'll just shuffle this up. I think this must have been original, because it's too closely... that is strange. I'm sure he had it out for pictures, because he's put this polystyrene in, so he must have resealed it, I think, with fresh sellotape just to keep this in place, I think. So let me just see if I can free this up. I won't struggle with it. I'll just slice and dice. Let's see if we can just flip it forwards. There we go. That should hinge quite nicely. So what you should find in this box is a Battlehawk. Some stickers have definitely been applied. I think I'm saying that. Now again, even getting it out, I'm wary because I know that the tail can pop up, or pop off rather, based on my example handling of the loose ones. So it's such a weight, you've just got to be a little bit careful. And of course, these are the immensely potentially breaky undercarriage segments, but they are really shiny in this example. Wow, it is a very, very clean example. Someone's definitely looked after this one. So you can see here, that's going to be the ejector switch for the Terrahawk on top there. That's very, very nice and clean, this one. There aren't sort of daft numbers of stickers randomly applied to it, which is nice to see. And the sort of the Terrahawks logos here and here and here. I suspect some of those are pre-applied. And finally, hopefully, a door that actually operates with the button as intended. So you should just push that outwards a little bit. Oh, it doesn't want to go. That's interesting. I don't know if you're supposed to do something else at the same time. That should, in theory, flick straight down. And it's not doing. That's annoying. But let's keep having a look at the box anyway, and I'll have a look at that. It might be that it needs a bit of a tweak. Now, he did say that the battle tank was a little bit damaged. But you might recall I've had a few examples of these, and these are the ones that... This is the battle tank that goes with the Battlehawk, so it's smaller than the one that came carded separately. I don't think that's actually marked. I think that's just a production. That's probably just the way it's produced. But I can compare it with some of the others I've got just to see. But I don't mind that in the sense that, you know, it's a battle tank. It's supposed to look a bit roughed up because it was a mainline tank for the Terrahawk. So I'm all right with that. Then I say, you know, I've got other examples of it, but inevitably this thing was getting, you know, dropped out of Battlehawk on a regular basis. It's bound to get banged up. And this is the piece that I have never to this point seen. And this is a really nice clean one. Again, the metallic on that, this foil sort of colour is brilliant. And it might look big on camera, but it really isn't. That's far smaller than all the other sort of examples of the Terrahawk going. I think even the little carded one. In fact, let me compare this because I did half have this in mind. So this is the carded Terrahawk that you can get, which is the action die-cast and plastic version of it. But even this one is ever so slightly smaller than this carded one. So this is by far and away the smallest of the Terrahawks you can pick up. This one I quite like because it's just got that extra little bit more detail like the larger counterpart has. But it is the only way you can get a slightly smaller Terrahawk. The smaller Terrahawk does not come in the triple pack. I think that's right. Because I think that's got Treehawk, Space Hawk, and Hawkwing. So I don't think you can get that another Terrahawk separately. So this is the difference I was talking about earlier as well. The badge sits here. On the other version of this box in the layout, the badge is simply not there. Neither is this indentation where the badge should sit. So if you see a box that's got this indentation in the front, there should be a badge in it. And I have seen people selling them where they don't have the badge, so it isn't actually complete. But that is what this version of the box looks like. So you've got separate compartments for the Terrahawk there, battle tank there, and obviously, you know, the main Battlehawk segment there, but also the badge in the middle. So let's move the polystyrene out of the way. But even the polystyrene is nice and clean. This has clearly been looked after. It's not like it's been sort of out, you know, sparing a loft for any length of time from the looks of it. And I'll just bring the camera down a little bit so we can have a slightly closer look here. So again, you know, this is something you've seen before on the channel, as I say, the actual Battlehawk itself, but hopefully in here there should be the lift that would have, well, the ramp rather, sorry, that would have deployed Hudson in the series. So that pops out at the front there. So that should be something that should be present, but isn't necessarily, because again, that's quite a breaky element. And this little Terrahawk does actually have little this little foot does actually come out. It does extend, so it can stand up on its gear like its larger examples would do. So I like the fact that they went to that much trouble, that they did actually include these articulation into the landing leg there. So that should fit in there like this. Then based on those instructions, this actually pulls back, locks in, and that is what it looks like on the show. When it launches out, the Terrahawk is sat seamlessly on the top here. And there's actually a space on the graphic on the top that is indicative of where the wings should sit. Now, I don't think they actually do go quite that far back. But if I then do this, this in theory should fly off. In fact, I'll just pop that down. And so it does, rather effectively. So you can see why so many of those have probably gone missing over the years. And in fact, it does occur to me that many people probably would have put stickers onto the little Terrahawk as well, actually. So that might be why that you get so many of these that are stickered up left, right and centre, because, you know, there were plenty of places to put stickers because it's quite a big ship. So that's very cool. That's all in working order. And so the only question mark I have is over this rear door. Because I would imagine that if I shut up this shop as it's intended to go and press this, that will all bounce out quite happily, and then the battle tank will just fall from there, and you put it back in, and then those doors will shut too, and it'll all lock in quite happily. So the mechanism was always a very clever little mechanism. But what should then, in theory, happen is that you can press this to the right, and this rear door should then fold down, and this is always a pain. But from a display point of view, I'm all right with that, because at least the button is there and intact. You might recall that on another loose version that I've got, it did not have the button at all. It was missing. So the surgery I was contemplating doing on another loose version was to retrieve another one of these buttons from another loose version and put it onto the one where, you know, I felt was in better overall condition. So that would have, in theory, given me a largely complete Battlehawk. Now, I'm just wondering if I can persuade it to open, but I'm probably asking for trouble if I try and do this in a hurry. But it is really hard to get this rear door down if you can't release it. I can't even tilt it, such as the engineering on this, I can't even tilt it upside down and press it. You know, you would think that would be releasing it, but it isn't. And there we go, got it. So as you can see, that is what you should be able to do. So there's a little compartment in there. I actually wonder whether or not the battle tank would fit through there. So maybe you can even carry the battle tank in the back there if you want to, in theory. I'm not sure if that was ever the design intention, but it does fit, more or less. So, bit of a shame that mechanism isn't working. I can't. I can see it moving back and forth, so I guess maybe the ramp is just stiff. It's possible that the ramp is just particularly stiff, because you can definitely see it moving. I don't think there's anything else clever going that's supposed to happen there. And then you just put it back in. But because the ramp itself is quite snug fitting, I think that's probably why when you do that, it doesn't immediately sort of pop out. You can see it's thinking about dropping down. Maybe over time it would loosen up and you'd be able to do it. But nevertheless, that is by far and away, I think, the cleanest version of Battlehawk that I've got. And obviously it is as it should be, kind of straight out of the box. So I've got the battle tank, the Terrahawk, the Battlehawk, and the badge. So I've got all the components. The only thing that was not in that box was the sticker sheet. So I guess in theory, to actually fully complete it one, you'd need the sticker sheet as well. But this is why, I guess, it's hard to find these in fully mint condition, because there are a lot of things that can break on this Battlehawk if it's ever been out of the box. And you might be just missing the badge. So if you want a really, really good condition one, and just the sheer size of the box is working against it, because the box is so breaky in and of itself. But I don't think that's a bad box at all. And again, for display purposes, absolutely fine. I really don't think there's a massive issue with that at all. But I could see why he was willing to let it go for what it went for, because it's not absolutely spot on by any stretch of the imagination. But nevertheless, it's really nice to finally have the little Terrahawk because that's what I've always been missing to this point. So it's really, really nice to manage to pick that up. That's great. And it's one of these, I'm now getting to that time of year where I start thinking about what I've been getting over the past year and wondering, do I actually need anything more? Because I have collected a good range of Terrahawks over the year. I think I was looking back, and it was only when I went to one of the Doncaster toy fairs I inadvertently picked up some of the bigger Terrahawks examples to start off with, and that was kind of what took me down this road. So having now finally done, I think I probably did that in December last year. So it's taken me almost a year to get to this point to actually get a boxed Battlehawk when all's said and done. But I guess that is the sort of, that is the collecting joy / frustration of it all, isn't it? It can take you that little while just to find that last piece that rounds off the sort of particular sub-collection that you're going for at any point in time. And I have recently picked up a carded hero as well, which is the only figure I didn't have carded. So I think barring a few of the smaller action models, I do now have a decent set of Terrahawks. What I now do with it, I don't quite know, because I'm not sure where I display them all. But I will find some space for them, definitely. And I will do a video that will show you what can now show you what the full range would have looked like on the shelves back then, because I think their coloration being orange, they do stand out. So I think in that sense, they probably sold very well on the shelves when they appeared. But I think the greatest weakness of the range as a whole was that they didn't do any enemies. They needed adversaries, they needed things to fight, because otherwise what were kids going to do with them exactly? I mean, obviously, yes, use their imagination. I mean, I'd love to hear from you in the comments in terms of what you put your Terrahawks up against, because I'm guessing some of us did have scraps with other things from other genres, so we probably did some very early crossovers because you would have had no choice, basically. So maybe you put them up against the Hood. I don't know. Maybe you put them up against the Aquamphibians or something from Stingray. I don't know, but let me know in the comments if you have any sort of early childhood memories about what you did with your Terrahawks toys. And on that bombshell, I will leave it there. Do like and subscribe as ever, please. And I will come back to you with a sort of a broader overview of my Terrahawks collection at this point. Cheers for now.